Hi, today I wanted to talk about VPNs. Now, when I talk about VPNs, most people who haven't worked in the IT industry instantly think about the way to protect your privacy. Let's not get seen. Let's pretend we're in America, or I want to get American Netflix, so let's do it vice versa. That's generally not what VPN is, though. A lot of those are kind of VPN proxy services, so something very different where you're masking your IP address to be from somewhere else. Now, the term VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and originally it was designed to focus on having a solution where you've got a seamless transition from being at a different place but connecting into the localized network and acting as almost you were on site. So if you think about the recent pandemic we've had where a lot of people shifted to working from home, a lot of industries would have probably worked on the basis of setting up a VPN so you can connect into their site, and therefore you'd have access to all the internal documents, files, storage, etc. Now, these days they're probably not used as much because people have adapted cloud technology. However, if you built a home lab, one of the key things you might want to do is if you're out and about and you've suddenly gone to a hotel for a few nights or you're traveling for work, you might have a requirement to VPN back into your home network to do some work. Now, primarily a lot of that's been delivered by a product called OpenVPN, but for the last few months and years there's been a new player in town, a company called Wireguard, and there's something a little bit special about them. Their throughput is absolutely phenomenal. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you how to set up Wireguard just using Docker Compose. I'm not going to set up Portainer. I could do it that way. I've had it running on my Portainer instance because it is just a Docker Compose or a Docker YAML file. But to keep it a smaller footprint, we're just going to set it up on a standard Ubuntu server with Docker Compose. And again, you could just do this with an LXC container in Proxmox. It'd work just the same. But yeah, stay tuned and we'll go through this. To set up Wireguard as your VPN. Now, when I mean VPN, I don't mean the type that you use for streaming. Basically, what I'm going to do is I've already pre-built this Ubuntu server and I'll just give it a couple of CPUs and 2 gig of RAM. It doesn't really need to be that big. It's just I've got it spare and I'm not really planning to use this for much else, to be honest. So it's perfectly fine. Now I've terminaled in, so all set. What I've done just to make life easy, I've got all the commands here, so hopefully I can kind of focus on what I'm doing here. The first thing we need to do is install Docker. Now the easiest way to do this is to get the commands either off Docker's website themselves or on my website, which is linked in the description below, and I'll have a blog on how to do this. So what I'm going to do is just go through these commands. So we'll run these off and I will be prompted for my password first time round. Oh, for there. I've got that right. Yes, there we are. And what we're then going to do is make a directory as well. So for the key rings and grab those, and they're a bit longer, so I'll just pull over that way. And we'll do so. Now we'll go back over. Run the following. Good. And then the final one at the moment is just to do an update, just to make sure those repositories are updated. And there we are. So let's now pull through Docker and Docker Compose. Hopefully, first time. And yes. That will just take a minute or two, not even that long, to be honest. I will clear the screen so it's back at the top in a moment. What we'll do once that's installed is run hello world. So let's just grab that command. I'll do a clear screen. So you can see, and we'll run the following. And hello world is just like the good test to do, and it basically just says hello from Docker, so it's a really simple script. Now what I want to do is add my user to the Docker group. So there should be a Docker group already created, hopefully so. So run the following command. Now realistically I should log in and out to make it work, however it should, hopefully. Yes, that's fine. So what I'd have to do for that to work without sudo is to actually log in and out. Well, we'll do that in a minute anyway, so that's fine. So what I want to do for Wireguard is make a directory. So I'm going to make one in OPT and just call it Wireguard. Run that. I'm then going to cd into that. Now, the reason being is I'm going to make a YAML file in there. Now, I could just change the nano command to make it root there, but realistically I'm going to want to be in that directory a little bit later, and you'll see why. So what we now need to do is, let me just stretch this out a little bit. So let me just pull that out. Okay, so this is a YAML file I wrote earlier, and if you go to Linux server IO, you can grab examples of these. So I'm just going to use this. And what I've done is I've edited a few lines. So the ones I've changed from what would be default on there is the server URL. Now, realistically, if you've got a static IP address, you can change that to what it is. I've put mine on auto because what it will do is every time my public IP address updates, because it's dynamic, it will pull through the latest one. I've obviously changed my time zone to Europe, London. And the other thing I've done is, or I haven't done it, I've just left that. It's one is to set the where I want the configs to go. So what I'm doing is mine's going to go into options Wireguard config, and it will go config again, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment. So I suppose what I could do, in fact, actually, is just to tidy that up, and no, we'll leave it like that. That's fine. I don't mind it being config. It's not really a big problem. And what you can do as well, if you wanted to change the port, you can. So you'll notice there's 2 server ports there. Or 1 server port on 51820. You need to change that for any reason, then you can. However, please bear in mind you will have to port forward that port on your router or your firewall. So there we are. Now we'll just do a Control X and a Y to save that. And because we're in that directory, this is the reason why I've done it, is I can now run Docker Compose Update. I probably will have to run this as sudo, because I haven't logged in and out. If I had logged in and out, I would just better run that because I've added myself to the Docker group. However, let's just do that, and you'll see the Docker Compose thing isn't installed. That's fine. So what we'll do is do sudo get apt install Docker Compose. And we'll just do the following. Run that. Okay, let's clear that screen again. It's because it does get a bit clustered. And now if we run this, it's going to do exactly what I want it to. So it will pull down that and it will get it running. So what this is going to do, this is going to create a conf file. It will be called peer1 conf. What I need to be able to do is get that peer1 conf over to the device I want to use for Wireguard. Now the reason I'm using this is if I happen to be a road warrior and go off somewhere and somebody at home says I can't get the following working, I can then connect back in and actually try and resolve it remotely, as long as of course this service doesn't go down, but I'm fairly confident it shouldn't. So that's kind of where we need to be. So what I'm going to do is now show you where that file exists. So if I go to cd config ls, and it should be peer1. Yeah, so if I go cd peer1 and do ls, That file there is the one we want. So that file there, we're going to copy over. Now to do that, we can just run the copy command. So again, now we should be able to do that. So we just do cp, and what we'll do is peer1 conf. And what I would suggest is after we've done this is we remove it. So we won't necessarily, not from here, but from where I'm copying it to. And what I'm going to do is copy it to home express IT right show. And that should be copied over. And we can check that. So to check that, all we need to do, cd home express IT. There certainly is. Oh, I just probably can't spell. I know I need to back out. So it's probably an easier way. It's just how I'm used to doing it. All days of running DOS. I do this now. I'll go cd home ls. There we are. cd express IT, and it'll be whatever you've called it. So there you are. My P1 conf file is there. And the reason I put it there is because what I'm going to do is set up SFTP so that I can do it this way. There's probably other ways you can do it, but this is just the way I've always done it. So for me to do that, I've got to enable SFTP, and I'm only going to do this for a short time to get the file off. Once I've got the file off, as far as I'm concerned, we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is you've got to edit the SSH config file. So let me open that up. Now all we need to do, the great thing is once we've done this, we can actually just comment these out. So if we ever happen to change the peer file for any reason, we can just uncomment them. What we're going to do is add that group in there, which is going to enable SFTP. And again, Control X, Control Y, out we come. Now we do need to restart SSH for that to work. Shouldn't boot me out, hopefully. There we are. And what we want to do is add a group. Helps if you get sudo on the front of that. There we are. SFTP. And then what we're going to do is add ExpressIT to that. And it's saying user already exists, so it should be fine. We should be all right. It shouldn't be a problem. And then what we could do is do a sudo chmod, which basically means only that's got permissions to it. That's fine. Now, for us to get in and do what we need to do, we're going to need an SFTP client. Now, you can do this with something really simple. I'm, however, going to do it just to make it easy with a graphical user interface. So if I pull this over and I type in the host name, we need to be a little bit careful. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. So 192.168.30.4, put in my username and password. Again, it's complicated. This is where I'll probably misspell it, hopefully not. Okay, and at the end here is select. We probably just need to make that FTP, which is probably not going to do now. So we probably just need to add SFTP. And there we are. It's going to let me go in with it, and I will blank out that. So you can now see the peer1 conf file that I need. So all I'm going to do is just grab that, and I'm going to stick that somewhere. I'll just grab that peer conf file and download, and it's now sitting there. So I've got my peer1 conf file. So in theory now, everything else I need to do can be completely done from my client device. So once you're on your Windows or whatever machine and you've installed WireGuard, all you need to do is import your conf file. So here's mine. I'll just import that. And what it will do is give you 2 public keys, which I've obviously blurred out. Now, what I'm going to do is just connect this to my mobile, make a hotspot, and then I should just be able to activate in. Obviously making sure I have port forwarded to that address. And there we go. You can see it's all up and running. So I think you agree that setup process was fairly seamless, and I've got this running really well on my home device now, to the point of I went away last weekend and I managed to VPN back in and do everything I needed to do, which was, it helped a lot, because there are times that, say for example, your Jellyfin server might go down or your Home Assistant might play up, and you can do this in different ways. You can set up reverse proxies and do various bits, but sometimes the most powerful option is to give you access to VPN back in. Now, there are some restrictions, and you need to make sure that you've got your security set up tight enough to make this happen. And obviously there is a requirement to port forward to that particular server on the particular port that WireGuard wants to use. You can also use it on a mobile app. So if you wanted to use a mobile device like a tablet, not sure why you would, but people possibly do, you can just scan a QR code and it will work that way as well. So hopefully you found this video useful and informative, and I will see you next time. Please hit the like and subscribe, and cheers.